Students, I'm your teacher Rebecca, and today we are going to be making pasta. Stuff that you want to have is a box of pasta shells. You want to have 2 hot pad gloves, a spaghetti spoon, a 1 tablespoon measure, salt, a 5.5 quart pan, a colander, a 8 cup or 2 quarts measuring cup, a sink, and a stove. The first thing you want to do is you want to make sure your sink is running with cold water. So you can turn on the cold water and let it run for a little bit until it's cold. Then you want to turn it off. The second thing you want to do is you want to grab your measuring cup and place it into the sink under the tap. Then you want to turn on the water and you want to measure it up to 2 quarts. Reaches the 2 quart line, you want to turn the water off and remove the cup from the sink. You want to take it over to your pan and you want to pour the 2 quarts of water into your pan. You want to go back to your sink and put your cup into the sink, and you want to measure out another 2 quarts by putting the water on and watching it until it gets up to the 2 quart line. Gets up to the 2 quart line, you want to turn the water off and you want to remove the measuring cup from the water. Bring it over to your pan again and you want to dump the water into your pan. Then you want to go back to your sink and put the measuring cup under the tap again, and you want to fill it up to the 1 quart line. Then when you have 1 quart of water, you want to bring it back to your pot and put the water in. Now once you have your 5 quarts of water in your pot, you want to bring your pot over to your stove and place it on the burner. At this point you'll want to turn on the burner on to high, and you want to wait for it to start boiling. While you're waiting for it to boil, you want to take your salt and your measuring spoon, and you want to measure out 1 tablespoon of salt. You can bring it over your water to measure it out, because a little extra won't hurt. So you want to measure out a tablespoon of salt. Once you have that, you want to pour it into the water. And then you wait for the water to boil. It starts boiling and it will start to look like there's a lot of bubbles coming out of your water like this. You'll take your pasta and you'll open the box. Once you have your pasta box open, you will dump the shells into the water very carefully, because they do tend to splash up. Put the box aside, and you can take your spaghetti spoon and give it a slight stir. Once you've stirred it, you'll set your timer. Now the box says to set the timer for 10 minutes, but our recipe calls for slightly firmer pasta, so we'll set it for 8 minutes. And we'll hit start. And we will wait for it to boil again. Once it starts boiling again, you'll take your spaghetti spoon and you'll give it a couple more stirs so it doesn't stick to the bottom. And you want to stir it about every 2 or 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes, just to make sure it doesn't overboil or stick to the bottom of your pan. So it is starting to bubble up a little bit. When that happens, you want to give it a stir. And you want to make sure that the water doesn't start to come over the little pour spouts on your pan, if your pan does come with pour spouts. And when it's really boiling, some of the white foam will start to rise up. When that happens, you want to make sure you do stir it a little bit. You don't want to over stir your pasta. That's why we're only stirring it a couple of times or every few minutes, or unless it is starting to look like it's almost going to boil over, because stirring it helps it settle down a little bit. If it does start to boil rapidly like mine is right now, all you need to do is put the heat down a little bit and you can continue to stir it. While you're waiting for your pasta to cook, you can grab your colander and you can put it in your sink. So you have that ready to go when the timer goes off, because that's when you're going to move your pasta and pour it into the colander. And you want to always remember to stir it. When your timer is close to being done, you will want to grab your 2 hot pad gloves and just set them by your pot on your counter. And you can also stir your pasta a couple more times. Timer off, and then you'll turn your burner off. Once you have those 2 turned off, you'll want to put on your hot pad gloves, and you want to lift your pot up and bring it over to your sink, and you want to dump the water and the pasta into your colander. Once you have all the water out of your pot, you'll put your pot onto your countertop, and you'll take out your colander and you'll shake it a little bit to get the excess water out. Once you do that, you'll take your colander and you will dump the pasta back in to your pot. And then you have your finished cooked pasta.